Continue following that major breaking news story again. If you are just joining us, what has been reported by The Guardian in Australia, Amy Remicus, is that Annastacia Palaszczuk, the Queensland Premier, is going to retire from politics and she will officially step down as Premier next week. That is less than a year out from the Queensland state election. Some believe Labor is going to lose. Quoting The Guardian here, they say, quote, the Queensland Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk is set to announce her retirement from politics. She will make the announcement at a press conference on Sunday, so today, following months of speculation. We all know about that. She will step down as Premier next week. Her successor is currently a three-way contest between Deputy Stephen Miles, Health Minister Shannon Fentiman, and Treasurer Cameron Dick. That is yet to be decided. She said she made the decision while trying to find a time to take a break with her partner. Her last holiday resulted in her being hounded by some media over when she would be announcing her retirement. She said, quote, if you were wondering, I've turned my mind to this when I was trying to have a holiday with my partner. Everyone deserves a break. Finally, my mind was made up at National Cabinet last week when I saw so many new faces. Renewal is a good thing. When I led this party from an opposition of just 7 members, I said that first election would be like climbing Mount Everest. I went on to climb that mountain twice more. I don't need to do it again. I have given my all. Huge breaking news. And of course, that follows on from that 6 News exclusive reporting just over a week ago, where there were succession plans within the Labor Party, and we had spoken to multiple people there. Now, we had tried to get comment from the Premier's office at that time. What they told us, give us a name to our source, and they'll give us a comment. We did not give them that name, of course. Huge news, of course. We've got our national affairs editor, Austin Pollock, with us all afternoon to cover this. Austin, what more can I say? Just wow.
It's astounding, Leo. Good afternoon. Obviously, we just heard just a couple of days ago all this speculation really coming in the last 2 weeks or so. But obviously, it has been there for some time. She was first elected in 2015 as Premier. Now, the latest Resolve poll, I'll bring up the Resolve poll showing that David Crisafulli was the opposition, who is the opposition leader, was increasing his lead on the preferred Premier margin, 39 to 34, with 28% undecided. So obviously, it's been a very tight contest with the recent times. There's been so many controversies with the government over the last 12 to 18 months. Obviously, we've got the Olympics coming up, all that controversy to do with Gabba, and of course, youth crime really denting the Premier's reputation and her legacy that she will leave behind. But obviously, it has, as you read out that quote just then, it has had quite a toll on her as her last holiday. I think we remember she was hassled by members of the media confronting her while she was on holiday. But obviously, it's been a fair time in Parliament for her, as I said, since 2015. But it's astounding, really, the fact it looks like the Premier's given the Guardian these quotes here. I'll read one out. Queensland is in good shape, which is why now is the time for me to leave. But all really just so sudden. We've just heard, obviously, they were denying. Her media team, when we spoke to them, were very wanting to get to the bottom of the sources. Maybe they knew something as well. But it's just astounding, really. I have no words other to describe it.
Yeah, and look, I think it wasn't too unexpected that she was going to go in general, but they have left it so late, so incredibly late. We are, we're about 10 months from this election, right?
Yeah.
They have been saying within Labor, from what I understand, that she's needed to go for quite some time. Now she's going. She will officially retire from politics in February. I'm wondering, is that too early for a by-election if she quits in February? I'll check some relevant legislation for that. But she's going next week. So for Annastacia Palaszczuk critics, that is a fantastic Christmas present for her. But of course, there are going to be plenty within the Labor faithful who are very upset to see her go, even though there were talks about her going. But again, as she quoted, and she's fairly accurate in saying she did a pretty astounding job getting Labor back. We all remember the 2012 landslide where the LNP won, and she got them back into opposition, into government after 3 years, a single term in 2015, re-elected 17, re-elected 20 in that COVID year when some were saying she might go, and quite a remarkable job here.
That 2020 election was quite a landslide for them, and obviously it gave them a huge boost because there was a lot of talk at the time because of COVID, how they controlled that. It was obviously a resounding victory for the Premier.
Yeah, and look, I just quite stunned at it all. She is holding a press conference shortly. We will take that to you live when we can. But just as we were saying before, Austin, this story has been going around lots of media for quite some time, understandably so. And of course, we were reporting it last week. Now, from there,
If you look for
the
it,
comments have been pretty extraordinary. But yeah, it's amazing that not only were we able to get that, not necessarily taking a victory lap here, but even though we were reporting that, I'm just still surprised she's left it this late, and especially again, you remember this election is less than a year out, and
people have to get used to, obviously, once we're introduced to whoever the new premier and leader is going to be. Shannon Fentiman, she's only recently taken up the more front and centre of the health minister. Stephen Miles has been around for a long time. I think he was health minister up till 2020, then deputy premier. But it is so late in the election with just 10 months to go.
Do you think this will help them? Do you think this will help Labor, given the polls are looking pretty poor?
Depends how likable whoever depends who this next leader is going to be. I mean, I'm not speaking with any bias here, but I know talking to some people who at least I've spoken to aren't major fans of mainly Cameron Dick and also Stephen Miles. Now, of course, that's just what I've heard, but it is Labor at the end of the day. It's still the same government. The only thing's different with the Premier, and maybe it's not just hate for the Premier, maybe it's for the whole government. But obviously, David Crisafulli, his support in the last Resolve poll was increasing, and that margin was decreasing.
I was just going to say, Austin, so I think the Premier is holding a press conference now, just on a YouTube channel. I'm going to go to that.
Sure.
And further updates will be provided. So Cyclone Jasper is the 63rd natural disaster I have led the state through as Premier. That figure doesn't count the global pandemic. I said then that if we had a strong health response, we would have a strong economic recovery. And that's exactly what has happened. Today, Queensland has one of the strongest economies in the nation. Lower taxes, lower debt, low unemployment. There are close to 300,000 more jobs in Queensland after the pandemic than there were before it. Thousands of Australians are moving here for more opportunities and a better life, and you can't blame them. That economic strength means we can help people with money off their electricity and things like free kindy that's going to start next year and free TAFE. Plus, we've started the biggest infrastructure building investment our state's ever seen, including 3 new hospitals and 3,000 new hospital beds. Queensland is in good shape, which is why now it's time for me to leave. I was raised believing in the dignity of work. When I took on this job, unemployment in parts of regional Queensland was 11%. Now it's under 3%. Our future is brighter than it has ever been. Our jobs and energy plan will see us transition from coal to renewables, mining all the new energy minerals the world so desperately needs. We've started making things in Queensland again, like trains in Maryborough, giving the future of regional cities. So much for the future. I'm also proud to have led a government of women that values women, that gave women the right to choose. During the pandemic, I had press conferences nearly every day, alongside the Police Commissioner and the Chief Health Officer, all women. And I think during those COVID times about all the people's lives that were saved. So if you were wondering, I turned my mind to this when I was trying to have a holiday with my partner, and everyone deserves a break. Finally, last week, my mind was made up at National Cabinet. I was sitting there thinking this is the 4th Prime Minister. There are all these new faces around the Cabinet table. We got a great deal for Queensland, $4 billion. And I thought to myself, renewal is a good thing. When I led this party from an opposition of just 7 members, I said that the first election would be like climbing Mount Everest. I went on to climb that mountain twice more. I don't need to do it again. I have given it my all, and I've run a marathon. Standing here today with these flags, alongside and standing up for the people of Queensland has been an honour of my life. I don't believe anyone who comes after me will know how humbling it is. To travel this state and meet so many amazing people. I will finish this week, at the end of this week, as Premier, and the next Premier of Queensland is for caucus to decide on Friday, giving MPs time to come back. and soon the people of Queensland will have their say. I have fought the good fight, I have given everything, but now is the time for me to find out what else life has to offer. I'd like to thank my mum, my dad, my sisters, my nieces and nephew, most of all Reza and his family, for all their love and support. They're looking forward to having me home. Thank you to my cabinet and my staff. Thank you to the Labor Party, to all of our frontline workers, but most of all, thank you to every single Queenslander. Sorry. It's been the greatest on my life, and our best days are well and truly ahead of us. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Oh, look, I've been thinking about it for a while. Sorry, I wasn't going to get upset today. I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's the right time. And it's time for renewal. It's, you know, I have a great deputy in Stephen Miles, and I believe he'll make an excellent Premier. We have a great treasurer in Cameron Dick, and he is one of the best treasurers I've ever seen in this state.
Did you think about it when you were in Italy on that trip? Because you came back from that trip and
I had a break and I felt refreshed and renewed, and I honestly thought that I had renewed energy and I gave it everything. But I've got to the end of the year, I've been to National Cabinet, that was the turning point, and I just feel now is the right time. I just absolutely feel it's the right time. I've run this marathon, I've had discussions with Mark McGowan as well, and to be down there at National Cabinet and not have all those friendly faces around as well, it's time for me to go and do something else.
was it the internal pressure that was getting to you though?
No, not at all. Look, I'm pretty tough. I used to have 7 LNP ministers yelling at me on a daily basis at press conferences during COVID. No, next year would have been 9 years. And look, a week in politics is a long time, but can I tell you, 9 years feels like an eternity.
Do you still have the support of Gary Bullock though?
I still have the support of the entire party and the Labor movement, and I just want to thank them. It's been a great honour to be the leader of this party, but I've done nearly 9 years as Premier, 3 years before that as Leader of the Opposition. Before that I was Transport Minister. I've dedicated my whole life has been to community service. There's no greater honour.
Do you have any idea on what you're looking to do now or the next decade?
I have no job. So come January, I'll be also finishing up as the member for Inala at the end of this month as well. But look, I think I will be out there promoting Queensland in some form of capacity. Look around you. This state has so much to offer. There's buildings everywhere, the transport systems, we're making things in Queensland. Like, honestly, our best days are ahead of us. And what has inspired me most is the people that I've met out and about, whether it's in Western Queensland with the wild dog fencing, in Maryborough where we're making trains, whether it's the free TAFE up in Cairns where I met, in Townsville where I met the nurses, the copper string line we're building, underneath the Brisbane here, Cross River Rail, and of course the Olympics. The Olympics and Paralympics sets this state up for decades to come.
What's, sort of touched on it before, looking at the legacy you'll leave behind,
Yeah.
what do you think it'll be and what you'll...
That's for others to decide, but we've had a very strong record of economic growth. Like I said, the economy is the best in the nation. All these jobs, coming into office when unemployment was, so high and now it's so low. The investment in our schools, the free TAFE, skilling Queenslanders for work. We stopped sand mining on Stradbroke Island. There has been so much that has happened, but for me, meeting the people of this state, and can I say to everyone, if you see me out and about, please come and say hello. Don't be a stranger.
Premier, you mentioned Stephen Miles.
Yes. Stephen has been a fantastic, steadfast deputy. He is strong, what you see is what you get from Stephen, and he is compassionate as well. And I've worked very closely with him, especially during COVID, and that's for the caucus to decide. But I will be giving my strong endorsement to Stephen Miles to be the new Premier of Queensland. Look, we've got everything set up. Everything in this state is set up for such a bright future. I'm absolutely committed to ensuring a smooth transition, and the building blocks are all there. It's up to the next person to make sure that that building continues. Okay? This is my final press conference, so thank you very much for coming. It's been a great honour. Merry Christmas to everyone. Have a safe and happy time, and God bless. Thank you.
There we go. That was Annastacia Palaszczuk speaking there, confirming her resignation as Premier of Queensland, and she will also be resigning from politics. And she said that that'll be in January. So we're going to have a by-election. That's the election's in October, the general election, but that's too long of a period without an MP. There was a by-election in March 2020 before the October 2020 election, so that is a by-election. Slightly less important, though, than a resignation as Premier. But, yeah, she's gone. We're back with Austin Pollock, our National Affairs Editor. Austin, definitely very emotional there. Interesting what she said at the end there, confirming she's endorsing Stephen Miles to be a successor. We could probably guess from that it will be Stephen Miles then as the new Premier, and one who may only be in office for 10 or so months, depending on these election results in October.
Correct. Clearly, a strong endorsement from the caucus there, and from herself, and obviously that might be the thoughts of the government. But that is quite astounding. It was a very heartfelt address that she gave. Clearly, it's taken a toll on her. She has been there for 9 years, of course. Which is quite a time. Obviously, I'll take a little look back. She started back in February 2011. She really came to the limelight under the Bligh government, where she was Minister for Transport and Multicultural Affairs, then becoming Leader of the Opposition in 2012 after Campbell Newman's government had a landslide victory against Bligh, before she then became Premier in 2015. Since then, those 9 years have gone through very, very tough for her, obviously, with COVID-19, a major event that obviously would have been, well, we can all imagine would have been hard for the Premier, of course. A lot of tough decisions to be made. It's quite a lot of things that have taken place. She's got the Olympics done, obviously looking after COVID-19, a lot of disasters that she's had to look after as well. And obviously, it is quite a legacy she'll leave behind, somewhat tattered by, obviously, ambulance ramping and the current things with youth crime and stuff. But it is quite a legacy she will leave behind. And the Premier obviously clearly brought to quite emotions there. But on that new the new Premier, sorry, she was very pleased that Shannon Fentiman, she was very happy with talking them up, and Cameron Dick saying, I think that he is a very good treasurer and would be a very good replacement. So obviously very friendly to all of those. But very interesting about that endorsement for Stephen Miles, which I think, as you said, would probably mean that he would be becoming the next Premier, because if the current Premier can endorse him,
go with the one who endorsed him, the former Premier endorsed
exactly.
him. I mean, it's almost like, with all
Stuff
respect
could be said
to her,
about that.
yeah, it's almost like, with all respect to her, she's lit a fire and now she's leaving because she's causing a by-election too. Now, I know her seat's fairly safe, but with some of the swings we're talking about against Labor here, it seems weird that she's not hanging on for another 10 months. I get there have been leaders before who have quit, but like Mark McGowan or Michael Gunner. But it's very close to an election here. Now, there has to be a by-election, by the way. It's like 9-month period without an MP. They're not doing that. There will be a by-election for her seat, which is... I've forgotten. I'm checking.
Inala.
Thank you, Austin. So, yeah, that's a very safe. It'd be interesting to see what we expect in terms of the different cabinet, right? Because you've got Miles. Let's just assume Miles becomes Premier. I think that's the most likely scenario here. Who's going to be Minister for the Olympics? Because that whole thing is, in place. Who's going to be... who's going to take over Deputy? And also, can Labor really stay united under a new leader? Now, Annastacia Palaszczuk, for all the faults that some in Labor have been talking to us about and saying she, should go, she still kept the Queensland Labor team together, and she built it up again from 7 MPs in 2012 is remarkable for any party. It was a remarkable swing, and it took a lot of swing against the LNP, mind you, but it would be...
That was mainly, I think, because of the leader, though, of the LNP, with Deb Frecklington. Not a lot of voters did like her.
With a 78% two-party preferred. Okay, a little boring there. That might not be too interesting. But again, that's a Labor-held seat for quite some time. You know who held the seat before her, right? Henry
Yeah,
Palaszczuk.
is that her father?
I think so. So yeah, that's that's her father.
Yeah.
So the seat has only been held by Labor and only been held by a member of the Palaszczuk family.
Wow.
So that's quite extraordinary. Yeah. So she's resigning next week. She will resign from Parliament in January, and the new leader will be on Friday, she said. Might I add, by the way, something interesting. A few of our viewers have commented. Apparently, the ABC News channel is not showing this press conference, but you can keep watching our live coverage here on 6 News. We are on the hour every hour, so stay with us for more on this this extraordinary breaking news. And again, you saw the press conference just before Annastacia Palaszczuk confirming her resignation as Premier. That follows on from 6 News reporting just over a week ago that there were talks within Labor about removing her. The Premier's office would not give us comment on that unless we gave them a name to our source. We did not give that. And again, as Austin, you said before, that almost makes me suspect they knew she was going to announce this week and they were wondering how we'd managed to get it. I'd like to think that, but definitely extraordinary. And this is surprising a few people. I've been speaking to a few people within Labor, and this has surprised them because there were some people who were like, no chance, too late. There's no chance something's going to spill her. Now, she hasn't been spilled, mind you, but she's gone, and there will be a new Premier, and we will know that new Premier in 5 days. So
And it's the third Labor Premier to go in 6 months as well.
Correct, yeah. So McGowan gone, Andrews gone, and now Palaszczuk gone. And the last man standing as the COVID leaders is Andrew Barr, the ACT Chief Minister, and apparently he is not going to be quitting anytime soon, and he'll be continuing on for the 2024 election. Labor has been in power in the ACT since 2001, so he's going fine. But again, quite an extraordinary day here. We will continue this coverage for you. But again, if you just missed what Annastacia Palaszczuk said there, she's resigning as Premier. She is endorsing Stephen Miles, the Deputy Premier, as her successor. And she will leave Parliament in January, triggering a by-election before, of course, the state election in October next year, which, of course, the LNP has been ahead. Just, Austin, if you can, just go through some of that polling again, because I know even though Labor kind of steadied out recently in terms of preferred Premier, and that was the problem, some reckon, for Labor, the leader, David Christoffel has been miles ahead.
Correct, yeah. David Christoffel, really starting to show some traction as leader. I'll just bring up those exact figures for you. Here we go. So the last resolve polling for the Brisbane Times showing that David Christoffel increasing preferred Premier margin over Palaszczuk 39 to 34% with 28% undecided. But the primary vote was at 37%, while Labor is at 33%. So more support for the LNP than Labor, but more support for Palaszczuk as leader of Christoffel.
Yeah, quite extraordinary there. And again, a huge day. We will, of course, keep this coverage for you. And we've got all the latest headlines on the hour, every hour. We will bring you these developments on quite an extraordinary set of circumstances. But, yeah, quite remarkable. Austin, thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
All right, stay with us here on this this coverage because we're going to keep continuing. And again, it was very interesting what Annastacia Palaszczuk said in terms of why she's quitting, and she said she's given it all, and again, she has been in power for quite some time, but still taking a lot of people by surprise here. And here's a bit of what she had to say at the press conference.
Cyclone Jasper, and can I say that all preparations are well and truly in place. It's expected to make landfall between Cape Melville and Cardwell, most likely during Wednesday. And if I just